Ozzy Osbourne is dead. At 76 years old, the man who once seemed untouchable, the Prince of Darkness, the voice of heavy metal, the misunderstood genius behind 1,000 controversies, has finally gone silent. And now, for the first time in decades, the world of rock and roll feels still. But Ozzy was never meant to fade away quietly. His life was a thunderstorm of chaos, beauty, destruction, and reinvention. And even in death, the story of Ozzy Osbourne is louder than most lives could ever dream to be. Born John Michael Osbourne in Aston, Birmingham in 1948, he grew up in a world of smog, poverty, and hopelessness. His family was working class, 6 children crammed into a tiny home, where money was tight and futures were limited. Ozzy struggled in school, battled undiagnosed dyslexia, and turned to petty crime. He even served a short stint in prison for burglary. But behind those troubled beginnings was a voice, unrefined, haunting, and completely unforgettable. When Black Sabbath formed in 1968, no one had ever heard anything like them. The guitars were darker, the lyrics more apocalyptic, the energy raw and dangerous. And in the center of it all stood Ozzy, a frontman like no other, awkward, possessed, captivating. With songs like Paranoid, Iron Man, and War Pigs, they changed music forever. They invented heavy metal, not polished, not clean, just honest, gritty power that spoke to a generation grappling with war, anxiety, and cultural upheaval. But Ozzy's demons traveled with him. The drugs weren't just a party, they were armor. The alcohol wasn't celebration, it was escape. The chaos wasn't for show, it was the only way he knew how to exist, and eventually it all caught up with him. In 1979, Ozzy was kicked out of Black Sabbath, fired from the band he helped create. Everyone thought he was done, a cautionary tale, another rock burnout. But instead, Ozzy did something no one saw coming. With the help of Sharon Arden, his manager and future wife, he launched a solo career that became even more iconic than his first. His 1980 solo debut, Blizzard of Oz, gave the world Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley. Suddenly, the man written off as unstable became one of the biggest rock stars on the planet. His voice was sharper, his persona even more intense, and his legend was only growing. Of course, the controversies kept coming. There was the infamous bat incident where Ozzy bit off a bat's head live on stage, thinking it was rubber. There was the time he urinated on the Alamo, getting banned from San Antonio for a decade. There were suicide lawsuits, satanic accusations, and stories of drug-fueled madness that sound too wild to be real. But through it all, Ozzy became something no other rock star had, untouchable. He wasn't just a musician anymore. He was mythology. And yet, beneath the eyeliner, the mumbling, the blood-stained headlines was a man. A deeply broken, wildly vulnerable, painfully human man. Sharon Osbourne didn't just marry Ozzy, she saved him. Over and over again, through overdoses, relapses, near divorces, and a nearly fatal ATV crash in 2003, she pulled him back from the edge. Their love wasn't pretty. It was brutal, but it was real, and it held him together when nothing else could. When MTV's The Osbournes launched in 2002, it shocked the world. Suddenly, the god of darkness was a confused, soft-spoken dad yelling at remote controls, struggling to remember where he left his shoes. Viewers expected madness. What they got was something better: honesty. Ozzy wasn't playing a role anymore, he was just trying to make it through the day. The show humanized him. A new generation who'd never heard NIB or Symptom of the Universe fell in love with him, not as a metal icon but as a father figure, a lovable wreck, a survivor. The Prince of Darkness had become a household name in a totally new way. But time has no mercy. In the last decade, Ozzy's body began to betray him. Diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, multiple surgeries, falls, hospitalizations, each appearance seemed a little slower, a little weaker. But the fire? Still there, always there. He released Ordinary Man in 2020, a haunting album filled with pain, reflection, and ghostly beauty. In 2022, Patient Number 9 proved he wasn't done yet. He collaborated with Post Malone. He performed at the Birmingham Commonwealth Games in 2022, despite needing spinal surgery and facing mobility issues. He kept going, kept fighting even when it hurt, because for Ozzy, music wasn't a job, it was oxygen. And now, it's over. The announcement of his death hit like a thunderclap. Fans around the world froze. Was it real? Could he really be gone? After all the overdoses, hospitalizations, and brushes with death, how could this be the end? But this time, there was no comeback. Tributes flooded in instantly. From rock legends to pop stars to metalheads in their teens, everyone had a story. Everyone had a memory. Everyone had been touched by Ozzy Osbourne. The man who screamed into the void for decades had made millions feel less alone in their darkness. Because Ozzy wasn't perfect. He never pretended to be. He was messy, wild, terrifying, hilarious, unstable, emotional, and kind. He was real, and that's what made him eternal. Ozzy stood for every kid who never fit in, every person who felt too loud, too strange, too broken to be loved. He showed us that the chaos inside could be transformed into something powerful, that even the most shattered lives could scream back at the world and be heard. Now the world is quieter. The mic has fallen. The lights have dimmed. But Ozzy's legacy? It's untouchable. His voice will echo forever in arenas. His lyrics are carved into our bones. His face, half smiling and half lost, will live on in posters, tattoos, and memory. You know, this isn't just a death. This is the end of an era. He wasn't just a singer. He was the sound of rebellion. The proof that you could be flawed and legendary at the same time, that you didn't have to be perfect to be iconic. You just had to be honest and loud. Rest in power, Ozzy Osbourne. You didn't just live, you survived, louder, wilder, and longer than anyone thought possible. The bats are safe now. The stage is silent. But in the hearts of millions, the crazy train never stops. If Ozzy ever touched your life, even just once, don't let this moment fade. Like this video to honor his legacy. Comment your favorite Ozzy memory. Was it a song that saved you? A lyric that gave you strength? A moment that made you laugh, cry, scream, or feel seen? And don't forget to subscribe, because this channel is where we keep the legends alive. Together we'll never let the music die.